Hey everybody, and welcome to another segment of AstrologyAnswers.com's weekly forecast. My name is Terence. The week begins on Monday, September the 2nd, 2024, with a new moon in work and service-oriented Virgo. There's a new moon every 4 weeks. However the new moon impacts your horoscope is where your intention and priorities are being directed over those next several weeks. Virgo can be health conscious, service-oriented, meticulous, trying to get the job done. Now, Mars, ambitious, physical, assertive Mars, will be squaring or challenged, frustrated by nebulous Neptune. Mars-Neptune, you could feel tired, the rug is being pulled out beneath you, that all your goals are just seeming more unattainable. I would think what that means on Monday as, and then people in the northern latitudes, we're going into September, and the summer is basically over. People are back to school, people are back to work, and so that new moon, in work-oriented Virgo, we may have a tendency to overdo it and really focus on a lot of work and accomplishments. And then the Mars-Neptune could be exhausting ourselves, or starting to feel a bit insecure that we can't accomplish everything we want to. On Tuesday, the moon in work-oriented Virgo will be opposite, interacting with restricted Saturn. But this is only from about 6, 7 a.m. Pacific time. This is a time there might be some blocks, some frustrations. You may be asking in business or in your personal life from others, favors, and you're getting this no answer or blocked. But by noon, 1 p.m. Pacific time, now the moon, as it's leaving restricted Saturn, is triggering expansive, optimistic Jupiter. So whatever was worrying everybody with the new moon in work-oriented Virgo on Monday with that Mars-Neptune, and then early Tuesday with the moon to the Saturn, could bring a lot of this anxiety and worrying. But by noon, early afternoon, Pacific time, now that emotional public moon is in harmony and triggering Jupiter, and so there's a lot more optimism. Now, Wednesday, the moon in Virgo will leave and go into Libra at 9:13 a.m. Pacific time. But prior to the moon going into Libra, the moon will still be in Virgo, and at 7, 8, 9 a.m., just before the moon goes into Libra, that analytical, sometimes critical moon in Virgo will be stressing out that Mars-Neptune that was perfectly in tension on Monday. There's still an orb of influence on Wednesday. So this might also be more worries, more anxiety at the very beginning of the day. Maybe this being overwhelmed with all the work responsibilities. But then the moon that sets the public tone goes into Libra. As I said, 9:13 a.m. Pacific time for 2.5 days. The moon in Libra is the tone. It's more sociable. It's more friendly. It's seeking more win-win situations. It can be, there might be more of a desire for peace and harmony and friendships. Thursday, there are no planetary events, and the moon is in Libra, and it's not making any aspects to other planets. So it's a relatively calm day, being in Libra, a peaceful day for most of you. But Libra is the second sign past Virgo. So the new moon set the stage for the month in Virgo. Libra is in the second sign from the Virgo. The second sector represents your income and cash flow. So you might be, this would be very favorable since there's no stressful aspects going on, and Libra is seeking a win-win harmonious situation when you're having financial transactions and negotiations. So, good day. On Friday, the moon continues in fair-minded Libra, late afternoon, 4-5 p.m. Pacific time. Now the moon is in harmony with negotiating communication Mercury. As we're going into the weekend, that moon Mercury is very favorable for conversations, for networking, for just exchanging ideas with others. And with the moon in Libra, it really enhances all the sociability. However, communication Mercury will also all day be squaring, forming this 90-degree angle of internal tension to unpredictable, rebellious Uranus. Now, on one end of the spectrum, that Mercury-Uranus could bring in some unexpected, upsetting news. Mercury also represents the nervous system, so that news could be triggering a lot of anxiousness and nervousness. The other end of the spectrum, that Mercury-Uranus, could be all these new insights, these new revelations, thinking out of the box, but you could still be very excited from all the nervousness and the anxiousness. The moon will leave peacemaking Libra and go into introspective, sometimes brooding Scorpio at 10:19 p.m. Pacific time. So most of the world, it will be on Saturday when the moon enters Scorpio. Scorpio, that public tone can trigger a lot of intensity, a lot of passion, sometimes obsession. And all day Saturday, the sun is going to be in opposition or in confrontation to restricted Saturn. So the sun-Saturn could trigger for Saturday a lot of worries, a lot of responsibilities, could also be triggering more exhaustion, because that's also that theme of that Mars-Neptune with the new moon, and the sun does represent the physical body. The sun also represents authority figures. So your body could be just tired from all the work with your obsessing with the moon in Scorpio, but your parents, your boss, authority figures could also be restricting and blocking you. But this too shall pass, because as we get past Saturday, it's Sunday. The moon continues in Scorpio, but now it's going to be in harmony around 7-8 a.m. Pacific time with that sun and Saturn. So we're going to wake up on Sunday and starting to feel more confident, more secure, not feeling so restricted, so blocked. I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you next week with my next segment. Until then, be safe and well.